Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. We are rolling our way through this buyer's guide. Today we are talking jig fishing. We're going to give you a variety of recommendations, but we're going to keep this simple. The purpose of this video is to make it easy for you and your loved ones going into the holiday season. We know it's that gift-giving time of year. We're going to really simplify jig fishing so that you can pick out key baits, key trailers, key rods that work across the board. We're just going to simplify it. If you want really in-depth videos, we have those. We have incredibly in-depth videos on jig fishing. They're down in the video description. We'll give you links to those. That's not what this is about. This is a general rundown of 5 different jigs, 3 different trailers, and a handful of rods for the different applications. Links to everything in the video description, so it's so simple. If you want to get stocked up on jigs, it's going to be really easy to shop. If you want to send that link to your loved ones, it's going to be really easy for them to shop. Let's jump right into it. 5 styles of jigs that every angler should have. First one is going to be that Flippin Jig. It's going to be that pointed style head. Now, I'm using all dirty jigs, and I want to tell you that up front. Across the board, Tim and I, we avoid being brand specific. And you guys that have been with us for a long time, you know that. We use everything. We don't care who makes it. Jigs is kind of that rare exception. And the reason why is we've been involved with dirty jigs forever, like since the beginning. So I'm going to show you dirty jigs, but the head styles, they go across everything. These are what we like to use, but even if you don't, the head styles and the information, it applies to everything. But I just wanted to be upfront with you. So that first style, that Flippin Head, you've got that pointed head, strong hook. That guy is going to come through cover extremely well. If you're flipping wood, if you're fishing brush, if you're fishing tules, bulrushes, those sorts of things, that is your jig. Heavy cover, large fish, get them out of that nasty stuff. You want that Flippin Jig. Now colors, we're going to give you color recommendations down there in the description too. We really are going to make this as easy as possible for you. Jig number 2 is going to be the football jig. It's got that literally football shaped head. It's also got a finesse hook. Footballs come with a variety of hooks. I prefer to fish them in that finesse style. Thin skirt, broad head, comes through mud, light rock, those sorts of things extremely well. When you're on that mud, it'll really puff that mud up, displace, and those fish can really hone in and track it. In the rock, that wide head, it'll hang up a lot, so you get that stuck, shaken, but then it'll pop over because it's not wedging in like a flipping head would. It's not going to dig in there and get stuck. That head will come up and over that cover when you shake it. Really, really good option, especially during the cold water months, because that finesse hook, it's a little bit lighter wire, but in cold water, you can still catch giant fish on it because they don't pull as hard. So it allows you to go still a heavy jig, but a little bit lighter line, a little bit finessier application. That lighter line can still bury that lighter hook. The third one is going to be a pitching jig. If I could only have one jig, that would be the one. Hands down, coast to coast, top to bottom, if I could only have one jig, it'd be a 1/2 ounce pitching jig, and honestly probably in that color right there. It's called Go-To. I love that jig. I throw that one more than everything else. Fairly heavy hook, archy style head, so that rolled rounded head comes through everything. Now it doesn't come through wood as well as, or through grass and those things as well as that Flippin Head will. Comes through wood better than a Flippin Head. Doesn't come through rock as well as some of the others, doesn't fish around cover as well as some of the others, but it does everything well. It's that rounded jig that will do it all. That's that pitching head. Now next is going to be a finesse jig. And actually, I kind of break off from the norm with this one and throw that compact jig. Little guy, little hook, light skirt. When you want that finesse application, when you've got finicky fish or smaller fish, if you're fishing spotted bass, smallmouth, cold water, largemouth, or finicky largemouth. Maybe it's after a storm front has come through, those fish are a little weary, they don't want that big profile. You cannot beat a finesse jig. It just gets it done. Last, California swim jig. This is a bait that I had a huge hand in designing years and years and years ago. It gets it done. You pair it up with a swim bait trailer. It's a great bait fish profile. You can imitate bluegill, shad, all your different bait fish. Fish them fast, you can pop them through cover. You're fishing a swim bait, but it's got secondary action because you have that skirt moving and flowing, and then it's got a giant gaff for a hook, so you can get the biggest fish out of the nastiest cover. California swim jig is a must-have. Those are the 5 styles of jigs. You can take these jigs anywhere in the country, and you're going to see success. Now, on to trailers. We're going to make trailers even more simple. I'm only going to give you 3 styles. First one is a double tail grub. You take that double tail grub and you pair it with your more finesse style jig. So the finesse jig itself, you pair it with that finesse football or the standard football. It goes great anywhere that you want that finesse presentation or cold water, because that thin double tail grub is still going to move in that cold water. Number 2 is the beaver. The sweet beaver. That's my all-around jig trailer. Works for everything. All the jigs, year-round, it's a winner. It's hands down, it's my number 1 jig trailer. Again, I said I'd take that pitch and jig anywhere in the country. I'd take that sweet beaver as a trailer anywhere in the country. It's completely dead action. It does almost nothing. It just sits there, but it's a solid profile and fish eat it. Third, that Strike King, that rage bug, that structure bug. It's almost that same beaver profile, but you get some kick out of it, some movement out of it, and it seems to be a great in-between. When I get into those colder months, I stop throwing it, I go to that double tail grub. But when I want that movement in the warmer months, that's the way to go. Very simple on those trailers. Now rods, what you're going to notice with rods is that they're all long. I don't fish a jig on any 7-footers at all. It's all longer rods. The reason why is you want as much of that rod to bow up as possible. You want a very deep flex in the rod. And it's hard to find rods that really do that well. So I'm going to give you 4 recommendations. I've only got 3 of them on the boat here with me, but I'll give you 4 recommendations. And again, rods and reels and all that, that can get confusing. So links are down in the video description. Don't worry about that. First one, let's start with the heaviest. If you're throwing that Flippin Jig, that pitching jig, or you're fishing around heavy cover, we're gonna go long. Something in that 7.5, 7.6 range. This is the 7.6 X Pride. It's a heavy, super sensitive, phenomenal jig stick in and around cover. I can go deep in the thick stuff. You can also fish around docks, that sort of thing. It's a great rod. At 7'6", I get a great flex when I load those fish up. It's a really good choice. Of my jig rods, it's definitely the most sensitive. To step down in price a little bit, the Corrado Rods just came out. There's a 7.5 moderate. We just talked about this in another video. That rod, I mean, for the price point, unbelievable for throwing a jig. It's that moderate action, so it loads really, really deep. If you yourself or you want to buy for your loved one one jig rod, buy that moderate action because they're going to put more fish in the boat. It's a phenomenal way to go. Now coming down, it's a Dobbins, it's Champion Extreme, it's the 784. That's a 7'8". It's a long rod, but it's only a 4-power, so it loads extremely deep into the blank. This rod, I fish everything up to a 1/2 ounce. The other one, that X Pride and the Corrado, I'll fish those all the way up to 3/4 or 1 ounce. This stops at a 1/2. But if you're fishing that football or that pitching jig, right up to that 1/2 ounce, they're perfect. Great rod, great sensitivity. Paired that up with the new Corrado. Love that reel on that combo. It's a great package. The last one is a branch out of how I normally fish, but I spent a lot of time this year with this rod, this summer in particular. The reason why it's a branch out is most of you guys know I prefer to throw braid to fluoro. This rod has semi-micro guides, so I had to throw it on fluorocarbon. but I really enjoyed it. This is a Mega Bass Orochi. It's the Extreme Mission Type F. Mega Bass, their names are always super long. All you really need to know, 7 foot, 5 inches long, and it's got a great tip section. It loads extremely well. If you're throwing fluoro, especially with those finesse jigs, the football jigs, your lighter jigs up to 3/8, even a ½ ounce, they rate it to an ounce, but I'm saying I prefer to stop right in that 3/8 to ½ ounce. Phenomenal choice. If you're a fluoro guy, you will really enjoy that rod. Caught a ton of fish on that rod this year. I enjoyed fishing it. And I really, because we do so many of these videos, I wanted to put more time into fluoro because I know how many of you prefer fluoro, and we wanted to be able to share accurately. And that was a great choice. So there's 4 rods, 5 jigs, 3 trailers. That's all you need. I don't care where you're going in the country, that gear is gonna do it, and it's gonna do it well. You're gonna be catching fish. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. There's more buyer's guides coming. We'll talk to you soon.